the third day of our Vraja-mandala Parikrama. And we have a very exceptional day today. Today we'll be riding in our wonderful buses and we'll be traveling out on the road to three divine forests. The forest of Madhuvana, the forest of Talavana, and the forest of Kumudavana. So we'll hear all those different pastimes there, and I'll describe something of the geography before we start our journey. But to begin with, we'll have our Radha Kripa Kataksha Kirtan and our Namami Nandanandanam and some Hare Krishna mantra. Jai. Nama
Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Shri Madhukti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Astraya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Bhakti Pradyana Deshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Munindra Vrinda Vandite Triloka Shoka Harini Prashanna Vakta Pankaja Vikunja Bhuvilasini Rajendra Vanunanani Rajendra Sonu Sangate Kadaka Sriyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Ashoka Vrikshavallari Vitanamandapasthite Pravala Pallava Prabhanurangrikomare Parabhaya Spuratkare Prabhuta Sampradavaye Yada Karishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Rangamangala Prasangavangula Bhruvam Savibhamam Sasambhamam Nigantavana Patana Nirantaram Vashishita Pratiti Nandananda Karishyasyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Tadik Sivana Champaka Pradipta Gaura Vigrahe Mukha Prabha Parasta Koti Sadhendu Mandale Vichitra Chitra Sanchara Chatora Sarvalochane Kada Karishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Madhuvana Yomane Pramodamala Mandite Priyanuraga Ranjite Kalavala Sasanodite Ananya Danya Kunjara Keli Keli Kovide Kadakarishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Ashesha Bhavadira Hira Hara Bhushite Prabhuta Sata Kumba 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 Susari Prashastananda Hasya Karna Purna Soke Sagare Kadakarishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Nala Vala Vallari Taranga Ranga Dolate Latagralasya Lola Lila Lochana Valokane Lalulani Nangana Damo Damo Anashite Kadakarishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Varnamali Kanchita Trireka Tambu Kantage Trisutra Mangali Guna Triratna Dipti Diti Kalola Nita Kuntala Rasuna Gocha Gumprite Kadakarishyasiyam Nitambamantaraambamana pushpamekalagune prashastharatna dikini kalapamadyamanjala karindra sundadandita varohaso sabadorate kadakarishyasiyamam kripakatakshabhajanam Aneka mantanala manjuno purara bhaskara samaja raja hamsa hamsa nikmanati gaurava vilola hema valari vidambi charu chankrame Kadakarishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Ananta Kota Vishnu Lokanama Padma Chartite Himadrija Puromaja Virincha Javaramare Apara Siddhi Saparangulinate Kadakarishyasiyamam Kripakatakshabhajanam Maheshwari Priyeshwari Svadeira Bhalaveshwari Viveda Bhalateshwari Yamana Praneshwari Rajeshwari, Rameshwari, Ramadhananeshwari, Rajeshwari, Jayadike, Jayadike, Namostute, Iti Namakutam Saram Nishamya Anubandini Sarati Santatam Janam Pripata Takshabhanjanam Tadaiva Sanchita Triloka Kamanashanam Pravekta Bhavajendasya Mandala Praveshanam Tada Karisya Shiyamam Pripaka Takshabhajanam Charupaktramandalam Sukarnaratna Kundalam Sucharchitanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Sudirga Netra Pankajam Shiki Shikandam Urdhajam Ananga Koti Mohanam Namami Nandanandanam Sunasramaya Muktikam Swachandadanta Pantikam Navambudanga Chikanam Namami Nandanandanam Garenu Venu Ranjitam Gatula Vendaganjitam Katula Pita Shobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Vibhanga Deha Sundara Tataduti Sudakara Amulya Ratna Bhusana Namami Nandanandanam Sugandha Anga Saurabham Viro Viraji Kaustubham Surashri Vatsalansanam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sunadaram Vilasanuga Varsasam Surendra Garbhamoshanam Namami Nandanandanam Rajandanayakam Pradasukha Pradayakam Janmana Pralobanam Namami Nandanandanam Srinandanastakam Padedya Shradayangita Perit Bhavam Dimduskara Nagendra Gandhira Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gurudeva Jaya, Gurudeva Jaya, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai Radha Binod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Vibhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parasada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai. Burihat Mridanga Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Nam Bhajan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Antadvip, Mayapur, Simantadvip, Gautamdvip, Madhyadvip, Koladvip, Richardvip, Janadvip, Motamdvip, Rudradvip, Apmadvip, Navadvip, Dham Ki Jai. Bandiravan, Baduravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kumudavana, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Om Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apetikriyam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Vinedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vardhino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatam Basadipita Sadahradare Kandares Puratu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prabhana Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Varadram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams under the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times under the lotus feet of our beloved Nityalila Pravishna Om Astau Taradhara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to all our esteemed, wonderful Rupanuga, Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So today we have the first day out. This is our third day, and we'll be traveling in our famous buses through the busy township of Vrindavan in the early morning, heading out onto the Mathura road, and we'll go south towards Agra, away from Delhi. And we'll only go a short distance, almost adjacent to Mathura, and then we'll turn off to the right, and we'll come to our first forest of Madhuvana. But first of all, I want to explain the geography today. So as I've explained many times previously, to be able to orientate ourselves in Vrindavan is very, very helpful for the consciousness. So try to see this map. So this is the eastern side. This is north, where I'm pointing. And this is south, of course, and this is east. So east of Mother Jamuna. Jamuna Devi is here. So at the first forest is Bandiravan, and then Bandiravan and Badravan, and then Bailvan. They all three begin with a B. So we can appreciate, actually, this is somewhat Baladev country. It's somewhat many cowherd grazing pastimes take place in this area. So this is Badravan, Bandiravan, and Bailvan. And then we come down to Lohavan is here, where I'm pointing, Lohavan. These are the main 5 forests on this side of the river. And then Mahavan at the bottom, where Gokul is in the forest of Mahavan. This actually, on this part, is called Greater Vrindavan. It comes across the Jamuna a little bit, where Mansarovar is here. So see if you can catch these. Badravan, Bandiravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, and Mahavan. So on our journey today, we're going to be crossing over the Jamuna, and we'll come to the first forest of Madhuvan. On the road, this is how it's coming on the map. The first forest is Madhuvan, and then we come to Talavana, and then we come to Kumudavana, which is generally inaccessible. It's always usually flooded. There's a large lake there, and it's generally flooded. So this is Kumudavana. And then we come around to Bahulavan. So we've come around from Mahavan, Talvan, Kumudvan, and we've come to Bahulavan. So this is 4 forests on the western side. And then we come to Vrindavan. The large Vrindavan forest reaches right up to Govardhan Hill. So this is Govardhan Hill here. So Vrindavan forest encompasses that. Vrindavan is sort of like conical shaped. It comes out, and it includes Govardhan. Govardhan is like the splendid tilak on the mandal of Braj. So this is Vrindavan. And then we come across to Kadirvan. Where is it? We've got Kamyavan here. And we've got...
Above Sanket. Above. Yeah, just on the left. Yeah. Yes.
Here.
No.
Ah, Kadirvan, thank you. So here is the forest of Kadirvan, actually where Lokanath Goswami did his bhajan in Kadirvan, and there's many famous places there. It's near Javat. Javat is quite close to here also. And then we have Kamyavan, the final forest. So there's 7 forests: Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan. It's 4. Vrindavan, 5. Kadirvan, 6. And Kamyavan, 7. So these are the 12 principal forests of Braj. And if we commit these locations to memory, it's very, very helpful when you're traveling around in Braj to get your bearings, etc., to know where you are. This is our eternal home. So I'm sure all of us have studied different geographical places, around the world, different times. Why not study this, Vraja-mandala, and attempt to bring it to full awareness in the mind. And then gradually, all the other places can be included. But first of all, just appreciate these 12 forests. And today, of course, we're going to Madhuvana. So we've been in Vrindavan here, and we're going to drive down to Madhuvana. And then we're going to go to Talavana, and then we're going to have darshan of Kumudavana. We won't actually go to Kumudavana. We'll just have darshan of Kumudavana. So we're actually going to walk in the dust of these 2 forests, and we're going to do Manasi Seva to Kumudavana, because it'll be flooded out. It always is. We never, the road doesn't really exist there. You have to walk through water, etc., to get there. So I've never been there with my Gurudev. We would just see on the way to Talavana. We would actually have darshan of the lotuses, because Kumudavana is famous for its fragrant flowers. And Radha and Krishna would go many times and do beautiful pastimes there. And Krishna would always make a beautiful garland for Sri Radhika. So we come to this remarkable forest today of Madhuvana. And as soon as we enter into this area, the kund is called Madhu Kund. And it's a huge kund. Sometimes it's called Krishna Kund. Sometimes it's called Madhu Kund. It just has a variety of names. But it's an incredibly beautiful place with huge green, sometimes they're neem trees, there's some kadamba trees there, but it's very, very beautiful area. And it's a big kund. And the history of this place, this forest, Madhuvana, spans all 4 yugas. So it's a very, very powerful, holy place. In Satya Yuga, there was a demon called Madhu, a different demon that's going to be described later. This demon Madhu had 5 heads and was ferocious. And it's described in the Puranas that it took Krishna 10,000 years battling with this demon to finally sever his heads and kill him. So that pastime is very little known of that pastime. My Gurudev would never speak about it. He would just mention, oh, this is where the Madhu demon was killed by Vishnu. But if we look in the different Puranic scriptures, we can see something of that description, but very little description is there. But that history took place in Satya Yuga. But then in Treta Yuga, the history is extensive and very, very beautiful. Because in Treta Yuga, at this place of Madhuvana, the atmosphere of Madhuvana is so beautiful when we come. We've just come from crowded Vrindavan. Especially today, Vrindavan is so congested. And we come out into this Madhuvana forest, and it's just huge, expansive, especially with this body of water, this lake, which is very large lake. And at the entrance, there's some small temples, but just up a little side road from the Kund, we come to a deity of Satrughna. So this is where the history begins, in Treta Yuga. In Treta Yuga, there was another demon called Madhu, the same as in Satya Yuga. And he would terrorize the local residents. And he was gifted a trident by Lord Shivji. And as long as he had that trident in his hand, no one, not even the devas, the demigods, nobody could defeat him. He could not be defeated. And when he finally left this world, left his body, he bestowed his trident to his son. His son was called Lavan Asura. This is the name of his son. He's the son of Madhu. So now Lavanasura was even more demonic than his father and was harassing the rishis and the sadhus of the area. And at this time, Ram had already defeated Ravan in Lanka. And a group of the Brahmins and rishis, they came from Madhuvana to Ayodhya. This is described in Valmiki's Ramayana also. This same history is described there. And they beseeched Ram to please come and help them contain this most disturbing demon of Lavanasura. So at this time, my Gurudev describes that Satrughna had just previously requested Ram to please give him some full seva. So Ram he calls Satrughna, and he's listened to the rishis and the sages complain about Lavanasura, and he's made up his mind that this area of it's in the Mathura region now. This has to be completely settled by a strong king. So Ram, he requests Satrughna to please take up this task and go for the rest of his life to take up residence in the area of Mathura. This is relatively close to Ayodhya. It's not so far away. It's perhaps, if you took a train today, it might be 4 hours, 4.5 hours from Mathura running on the train from Mathura to Ayodhya, something like that, correct? Something. So it's not so far, but when I was just listening to one recording this morning, and my Gurudev is saying that when Satrughna offered this service with his life to Ram, and then Ram was requesting him to go away for the rest of his life and take up the kingship of this area, he regretted it very much. And because he didn't want to suffer the separation from Ram. But he had already given his word that he would do like that. And he was in great lamentation that he would have to leave Ram. And Ram, at that time, he had captured one incredible Varaha deity, Adi Varaha, from Ravan in Lanka. This deity had originally been worshipped by Indra, and originally had been worshipped by one Brahmin from here, from Prithvi, from Bhaumadevi. And Indra had requested that Brahman, because he did so nice puja, to come to Swagaloka and bring his deity with him. And then he did like that. Then Indra, he also took over the worship of that Varahadev, because they were all there for that pastime when Varahadev kills Hiranyaksha. So they were aware of that personality of Varahadev. That was an incredible manifestation of Krishna in Treta Yuga. We understand that the Devas, they live for 310 million years is the lifespan of a Deva. It's the lifespan of one Manu. There are 14 Manus in the day of Lord Brahma, and with each Manu comes a new set of demigods and Devas, a new Indra, etc. So this deity, since the manifestation of Varahadev, had existed first with this Brahman, and then with Indra, and then when Ravan attacked Swagaloka, he was able to capture that deity, and he brought it back to Lanka. Even though Ravan, he worshipped Shivji, he knew all the dharmic chantras and mantras, etc., just like Hiranyakashipu did, and all the demons, they were all understanding the prayerful way to get power, but they were taking the power for themselves rather than honoring the owner of that power. So this deity was very, very potent. So Ram, he gave this deity to Satrughna and said, you can carry Lord Varaha with you into the land of the province of Mathura. So Satrughna was pacified to some degree with taking Adi Varaha with him. So he takes Adi Varaha, And he's already heard from the rishis and sages that as long as Lavanasura has this trident, he cannot be defeated. So it was up to Satrughna to make some type of arrangement where he would be separated from his Trishul, from his trident. So Satrughna, basically alone, just with a few trusted soldiers, was observing Lavanasura. And as soon as he went out hunting, he didn't take his trident with him. So then Satrughna positioned himself between his cave where the trident was and when he would return. And then a few hours later, he returned with a huge spear, and he had elephants on it and boars on it and so many buffaloes on his spear. He was a big, big demon. So, he was carrying all of this flesh back with him on his spear. He didn't think the need to take his trishul because he wasn't going out battling with any great warrior, just going killing animals. And as soon as Satrughna sees him, then they engage in a very intense battle. But Satrughna is very easily able to kill Lavanasura because all his potency had come from the Trishul, and he can't get into the cave. Satrughna won't let him have access into the cave at all. So eventually he kills him quite easily. And at that time, all the rishis and sages, they all gather and they glorify Satrughna. And then Satrughna, he carries that Thakurji, that deity, into what is left of the city of Mathura. Mathura has been ravaged over the centuries by many, many different warring kings. Mathura has a long, long, long history. And Satrughna, he brings this Adivaraha into the city. And of course, all the residents are joyful. And they install that Adivaraha in the city. And then Satrughna, he takes up the kingship of Mathura for the rest of his life. So that is how the Lavanasura demon. But this all takes place in the forest of Madhuvana. This whole pastime. Lavanasura had his cave in Madhuvana. So this is the Treta Yuga history that we hear described in Madhuvana. And then in Dwarpa Yuga, we hear so many sweet pastimes where Krishna would come here with the cows and all his sakas, and he would make the cows drink the water. He would say, tiri, tiri, tiri. This means drink, drink, drink. Then he would say, slowly, slowly, diri, 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 diri. And then he would say, come on, come on, come on now, hoya, hoya, hoya. So he would speak to all the cows like this in his own language. And the cows, of course, would respond fully. So there's many beautiful pastimes where Krishna would be engaged there with all the sakas. And sometimes the Ramanis, Braja Ramanis, the gopis, they would be hiding in the forest, waiting for any opportunity when Krishna could be distracted from the cowherd boy, because they would play so energetically together when they would be playing their different pastime games. They would be following, for example, the shadows of the birds, and they would be quickly going very fast following. They would be racing with each other. They would be dancing vigorously like peacocks, and they would be doing so many chasing monkeys, etc. So all these very sweet pastimes. And also later on, pastimes took place there between Krishna and the gopis. So again, this Madhuvan has its name from these pastimes because this word dhava, Madhav, dhava means springtime. So Madhava, it's a springtime forest. So it was very much a favorite of all the gopis to come and perform spring pastimes there. So this was in Dwarpa Yuga. And then in Kali Yuga, then Mahaprabhu comes here. And Mahaprabhu has a spurti directly of Krishna with his sakas and all the gopis also at that time. This is described. And Mahaprabhu goes into extreme ecstasy when he sees that beautiful spurti. And the whole backdrop is so charged and heavy with atmosphere and sweetness and beauty in this forest of Madhuvan. It's very special indeed. And right on the corner as we enter, there's a beautiful temple, and it's got a shyam colored Balaram deity there. Dauji is there, but he's blackish. So when Balaram comes back, when he leaves Dwarka and he comes back to dance with the gopis, he's so much meditating on Krishna with all his moods of sweetness that he himself takes on the same shyam hue as Krishna, and he becomes blackish, and all the gopis see him as blackish. So that pastime manifested, or that Thakurji manifested from that pastime, and is installed there for us to appreciate and to remember the presence of Baladev there, dancing with the gopis when he returns from Dwarka. So this pastime is also in Madhuvana. And then, so we have the deity of Satrugana that we all take darshan of initially, and then we have this sham-colored Balaram that we take darshan of. But the whole atmosphere is extraordinarily beautiful. So these 4 yugas were manifesting here for their different pastimes in Madhuvana. So now in the same forest as Madhuvana, we wander through the fields and we cross over a little wall and we walk through a small forest, and on a hill it's called Dhruva Tila. It's the actual hill where Dhruva performed his tapasya in desire to achieve a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. His grandfather is Lord Brahma, so he wanted a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma's, which ultimately he acquires in greater Vaikuntha. But we know the history is very, very beautiful, that Dhruva Maharaj is the son of Uttanapad, and his brother, Uttanapad's brother, is Priyavrata, because eventually Uttanapad, their father, is Swayambhuva Manu. So he's a Manu. So he's, Uttanapad is an incredibly powerful personality. And he has 2 sons. He has 2 wives and 2 sons. He has 2, one is Suruchi, and it's very significant, the names Suruchi. In this case, that name Suruchi means actually much material pleasure. So Uttanapad, he got material pleasure from Suruchi, but Suniti was far more of a dharmic type of personality. And this is the mother of Dhruva. The son of Suruchi is Uttam. This is the son of Suruchi. So one day, very young, Dhruva Maharaj, he's there with Uttam, his brother, and Uttanapad is sitting on the throne, and the 2 mothers are close by, and Uttam is sitting on his father's lap. And Dhruva Maharaj, he wants to also sit on his father's lap. So he comes up to sit on his father's lap, but his stepmother, Suruchi, she stops him. She says, no, you can't sit on your father's lap until you take birth from my womb. She says this in front of Uttanapad. And Dhruva is shocked to the quick of his soul. He's a complete Kshatriya spirited personality, totally. And this insult right in the front of his father by his stepmother is just intolerable to him. And he goes back to his mother, Suniti, and just biting his lips and furious. And his mother tries to pacify him. And then he asks his mother, how can I sit on the lap of my father? And she advises him, the best course of action always is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan. If you worship Lord Narayan, all of your material and spiritual desires will be fulfilled. We understand ontologically that Dhruva Maharaj, he's called a Sakam Karma Bhakta. There are 5 bhaktas that are described in Brihat Bhagavatamrita in gradation. So we should see initially, where does Dhruva come in that 5 section? He's at the very end, so to speak. The first Bhakta is Prahlad Bhakta. He's like a Jnani Bhakta. And then there's Ambarish Maharaj, who's a Shuddha Bhakta. And then there's Hanuman, who's a Premi Bhakta. And then there's the Panch Pandavas, who are Premi Bhaktas also. What is it? How does it go? They are... And then the next one is Uddhav, who is a Prematur Bhakta. So there's these 5 gradations of the Pandavas, I think, are Shuddha Bhaktas. That's what I think they are. But Dhruva, he's a Sakam Kama Bhakta. He had a material desire. All of what we're going to hear about his austerities, etc., was prompted by his desire to have a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. So he asks his mother, Suniti, well, where is this Lord Narayan? And she says, you have to go to the forest to meditate on him. If you go to the forest and meditate on him, for sure, he's very, very merciful, and he will give you his darshan. So Dhruva, the point is, he's just in a very young body, 5 years old, like Prahlad was also in a very young body. So this is a very powerful pastime because of the age of this young boy. And Dhruva, he goes to the forest, and on his way, he meets Narad Muni. So this is the remarkable ingredient for Dhruva's welfare. The name Dhruva means very, very determined. So Dhruva Maharaj was so determined to actually accomplish his mission of having a kingship greater than his great-grandfather. So he meets Narad, and Narad initially tries to dissuade him from this idea of going to the forest and meditating. He says, you're too young. You should be going back and playing with your friends and your games in the palace. Don't worry for this. But Dhruva is absolutely fixed. And when Narad appreciates his fixed determination, then he instructs him that you should go to the forest specifically of Madhuvana, because the forest of Madhuvana is in the Vraja-mandala. So within that forest, so much auspiciousness will be naturally, easily attained if you perform your tapas in this forest. And then he gives Dhruva a mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the simple mantra that he gives Dhruva Maharaj. So then Dhruva Maharaj, he comes to Madhuvana. And then it's described that for the first month, Dhruva only lives on fruit and berries. Every 3 days, he takes fruits and berries in 1 month. And then the second month, because Narad has made a pledge, so to speak. Everything that the great sages say is like cast in stone. It must happen. It's Satya Sankalpa. It must happen. So Narada said, within 6 months, you will achieve your goal. So this is why this pastime had to happen in 6 months, because Narad had made that promise to Dhruva that would happen. Krishna was going to fulfill that. So in the second month, then he just took grass and leaves every 6 days. So the first month was fruit and berries, and the second was grass and leaves every 6 days. And then the third month was he would only drink water every 9 days. He would only drink water. And then in the fourth month, he would hold his breath for 12 days. This is in Satya Yuga. So they had far more ability to perform these types of austerities, except Dhruva is in a very, very young body. So this is exceptional. This is why the pastime is so powerful, because it was such a young boy performing this. And then in the fifth month, he was only standing on 1 foot, 1 leg. And then in the sixth month, the toe of that foot that he was standing on began to make an impression into the earth, because actually by his meditation, on this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, totally meditating on this with all his spirit was meditating on this. And the potency of that pressure from his toe, because it's described that he became one with the entire universe because of his austerities. So this was actually choking all the devas and the demigods. They couldn't breathe because of Dhruva's tapasya. So they run to Lord Brahma and say, what's happening? Is it the time of the annihilation? And then Lord Brahma says, no, this is young Dhruva. And he's performing this tapasya, but very soon Vishnu will appear. And then when the austerity is at its most intense pitch, then Vishnu appears on the back of Garuda, and it's an 8-armed form of Vishnu. And we have a beautiful painting in the Bhagavatam. And it seems like the more arms Krishna has is the more Aishwarya. When he's got 2 arms, he's the sweetest. When he's got 4 arms, he's like Aishwarya. And when he's got 6 arms, it's even more, but 8 arms. So he appears to Garuda with 8 arms, with his various weapons and so on the back of Garuda. And when Dhruva, he sees Krishna fully, he has full darshan of Krishna. Well, first of all, he's seeing Krishna in his mind, then all of a sudden that disappears, and then he opens his eyes, and then he sees that Krishna has actually arrived in front of him. And his voice becomes choked, and he wants to offer prayers, but he's never been taught any prayers. He doesn't know, he never went to the Gurukul, etc. He doesn't know the prayers. So at that time, Vishnu, he touches him with his conch shell, his conch, and immediately Dhruva has recollection of all these beautiful stavan stutis that he starts to offer to Vishnu, to Lord Narayan. And he's making all these requests. And then he's saying at this time that he felt like he was looking simply for broken glass. And he found this most amazing jewel. Now he's saying to Vishnu, Narayan, all my material desires have gone away. I don't want anything now. Previously, this was just a material, but now I've had darshan of you. I realize that I don't want anything. But Krishna is so merciful, he was ready to fulfill his desire anyway. So he bestows an eternal, the pole star for Dhruva's future rulership when he leaves this planet. He goes to the Dhruva Loka, and it's described as like a part of the greater Vaikuntha. It's not in pure Vaikuntha, but it's apart from Vaikuntha. It's a lower region of Vaikuntha where he has his eternal place. So the whole pastime of Dhruva after this is very beautiful also. He returns after his darshan with Lord Narayan, completely spiritualized, and on the way Narad has informed Uttanapad that he's coming back. So Uttanapad has had so much regret about not allowing him to sit on his lap. And because as soon as Dhruva left the palace, Uttanapad was feeling separation from him and realized what he'd done by rejecting him from his lap. So when Dhruva returns, Uttanapad meets him with his whole entourage, elephants, chariots, horses, have a wonderful, wonderful reception when he comes out of the forest. And Suruchi is also there. And Suruchi, it's described in the Bhagavatam, embraces him very beautifully. So having darshan of Lord Narayan, everything in existence becomes reconciled. All these relationships that were disturbing Dhruva Maharaj were all completely reconciled and pacified. So then history is that Dhruva Maharaj, he rules for 36,000 years. This was the benediction that Narayan gave him. Then there's the whole pastime of Dhruva Maharaj and killing all the yakshas because the yakshas killed his brother Uttam. And I'm not going to go into all that history, but that's just the part in Madhuvana where he performed his tapas, his austerity. That's the part we meditate on in Dhruva Tila. Originally, it was just a very small little temple 20 odd years ago, but now they built a very beautiful temple there. They have Lord Narayan in that temple on the altar. It's in Madhuvana, of course. And it's on a hill, Tila. It's like we described the other day, Durvasa Tila, because the Jamuna floods. Jamuna is quite close by. And when Jamuna floods, the hill will be saving whatever building and so on. So this is this time, in very brief, about Dhruva Maharaj. So today I've spoken something about Madhuvan. But Madhuvan, it's really the darshan, the direct darshan of Madhuvan that will capture the devotees' hearts when they see the beauty of the environment of Madhuvan. It's exceptionally beautiful, very, very beautiful. So from here, we can either walk, it's only a few miles, or we get back in our buses and we go to the next forest today, which is Talavana. And this is also a very, very beautiful pastime where Balaram is prominently going to be described, because this chapter in the 10th canto is the 15th chapter, the killing of Dhenukasura. Dhenukasura is the demon in Talavana. And the chapter previously was the prayers by Lord Brahma. And prior to that, it was the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So if we remember the Brahma Vimohan Leela, when Balaram, he wasn't party to that understanding that Krishna was going to manifest as all the cowherd boys. He didn't know about that. And he only discovered it right at the very end. And he wasn't happy with that at all. He wasn't happy that Krishna hadn't confided with him. And actually, Jiva Goswami describes he doesn't come out into the cow grazing pastures for the next 5 days. But when he does come out is on this particular day, and Krishna arranges for this demon, Dhenukasura, to be killed by Baladev. So everything becomes reconciled. But at this particular time, in the growth of Krishna from his Balya period, age, when he's 2 or 3, through his Kumar age, now at the Brahma Vimohan Leela, it's on the cusp of the Poganda age. And when Krishna comes to his Poganda age, it's very significant. His chest becomes broader, his waist becomes more narrow, his feet become bigger, his body becomes heavier. And Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi, she is in such ecstasy now because the feet impressions that he makes walking around go even deeper into Mother Earth. It's described, the gopis, for example, in their Gopi Geet. Yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu bita shanaida dimahi karikasheshu tena tabimatats yatatena kimswit kurbari vibramati dir babayu samya. They are tormented by fear that Krishna's feet might be hurt by sharp pebbles, etc. But what they haven't understood is that Bhumi Devi, the earth, her tongue is extended and Krishna is walking on the soft tongue of Mother Earth wherever he goes. There's no thorns. So Krishna doesn't suffer anything like that. But these impressions of Krishna's feet are bringing such ecstasy because in all of Krishna's pastimes, 125 years, he never leaves the earth. So Mother Bhumi Devi, she has so much association with Krishna during this time. The whole time that Krishna is on this planet, Mother Bhumi Devi is connecting with Krishna. So the brothers and all the sakas, they come into the forest for cow grazing. And this is also a very significant day. This is the second Gopastami, is on this very day when Baladev kills this Dhenukasura demon. Because previously they had a Gopastami when they had a big meeting in Braj. Because Krishna wanted to take the calves out grazing. And Mother Yasoda was absolutely adamant that he would not leave and go to the forest alone without a whole army of elder cowherd men, because she knows how many demons are in the forest. Because demons had already displayed themselves in Little Braj, Putana, Trinavrata, Shakatasura. They had all already come. The twin Arjun trees had been there. So Mother Yashoda was definitely not going to allow Krishna. So, but Krishna was definitely going to go. So there was contention. So they had to have a very big meeting. So they had a 3-day long meeting with Upananda, Abhinanda, Nanda, Sunanda, and Nandananda, and all the brothers of Nanda, and even Nanda's grandfather, Parajanya, he was also there. So they were all convening in this meeting to decide whether Krishna now should have an upgrade. All right, he's already been with the calves. That was acknowledged. He went with the calves. And they heard from the cowherd boys that he killed Bakasura and that he killed Vatsasura also in the forest. But they never actually saw that. And they weren't sure that the young cowherd boys were actually telling the truth when they described about Bakasura, etc. So they agreed to, after their meeting, that allow Krishna to go with the cows now. So now they're all coming out grazing with the cows. So now in his Poganda age, this sort of like fits the whole pastime and Leela, because now Krishna is bigger, he's in his Poganda age. This goes from 6 until 10 years old. So now he's considering himself quite, now Mother Yashoda can't dress him. Krishna refuses at this age. Some servants have to help dress him. He won't let Mother Yashoda dress him now. Now he's a man. He's Boganda, he's 6 years old. So these moods are what are flowing in the childhood pastimes of Vrindavan. So when they come into the forest, all the trees are laden with fruits and flowers, and they're all bowing down to Krishna, of course. But Krishna is saying, look, Balaram, they're all bowing down to you. They're all offering your obeisances to you. Balaram doesn't say anything. Balaram understands the glory of his elder brother. But Balaram accepts this glorification that Krishna is demonstrating. And they walk through extensively. And Krishna says many verses here. There's 5 or 6 beautiful verses where Krishna is glorifying Balaram and glorifying the beautiful forest of Vrindavan at this time. There's a very beautiful sequence here where the forest of Vrindavan becomes very prominent and in its description, because this is the backdrop for all of Krishna's pastimes, is this incredible forest of Vrindavan. It really is described in so much detail. And all the thousands of sakas are all with Krishna. And again, they're playing very energetically with Krishna. And then it's described that sometimes Krishna will massage Baladev's feet. Baladev will put his head on the lap of a cowherd saka, Sridham, and Krishna will massage Balaram's feet. And sometimes Krishna, he puts his head on another saka, Stoka Krishna, and Madhu Mangal or Arjun Saka will massage. But Baladev never massages Krishna's feet, not like that. So there's always that correctness is there with between the sakas, etc. So on this particular day, the sakas, they know that Krishna can defeat any demon. So they want to present him the demon of hunger. So they say, Krishna, you know, we have a demon within us who's hungry. We need to be fed today. We're hungry. We didn't have a big enough, you know, breakfast this morning. We need more. And we can smell the aroma of these tal fruits that are just a few miles away from here. The aroma of them was coming through and they could smell them. And Krishna looked to Balaram and they both understood that these tal fruits were guarded by these ferocious ass demons. He was called Dhenukasura. Originally, Dhenukasura was in the higher planetary systems, and he was he offended Durvasa Rishi. His name was Sahasika. Sahasika was his name, and he offended Durvasa Rishi. He was sporting and dancing with 10,000 women, and Durvasa was there meditating. And Durvasa could not tolerate this disturbance to his meditation, and he cursed him to become like an ass. He said, you're behaving like an ass, you can become like an ass. For 400,000 years. 400,000 years you can be an ass. until the brother of Krishna will come and liberate you. It had to be, it's described, because this demon, Saha Sika, was in the line of Prahlad Maharaj. He was one of the sons of Bali Maharaj. So he was connected in lineage to Prahlad Maharaj. And Krishna had promised that he would never kill anyone in the dynasty of Prahlad Maharaj. So Krishna could not kill this manifestation from Saharsika when he becomes a demon ass. So he comes in the body, very, very ferocious demon. It's described that he would even eat men. He was known to have eaten, no birds would fly across because they would be captured, because he had many cohorts with him. It wasn't just Dhenukasura, he had an army, and they were guarding this tal fruit. And of course, as with all the demons, Kamsa had defeated Dhenukasura previously, so Dhenukasura was strongly, completely in the camp of Kamsa. So Krishna and Balaram, they happily go with the cowherd boys to the Tal forest, and Balaram strides in, because now they're in Poganda age. Now they're not little, they're recognizing, they've grown up, and they shake these tal trees. And it's described like an earthquake is happening for Dhenukasura. Someone has trespassed into his forest, and he is just like Kaliya yesterday, absolutely incensed. And then all the ripe tal fruits begin to drop on the ground like thunder. And Dhenukasura becomes totally enraged, and he comes roaring out of the forest, and he sees Balaram. And for a moment, just like with Kaliya, he has darshan of the splendor and beauty of Balaram, Baladev himself. He has a darshan of him. But then his evil nature, his wicked nature, because for so many thousands of years, he's been covered by this brutal nature. Dhenukasura represents an overloading, carrying ass, someone who is carrying so much extra attached baggage. That's actually what it represents. It's like an envious mentality of overbearing, loading, overburdened. And Dhenukasura comes roaring out of the forest, and he turns round with his hind legs and he throws a kick at Baladev, and it doesn't even affect Baladev. It's like just off, like a lotus being thrown. And then Dhenukasura runs forward, braying so loudly all the time, shouting so loudly, completely. And then he turns and he races back again, and he wants to again kick Baladev. And just at the last, he swings around and he throws his hind hoofs again at Baladev. But this time, Baladev very easily with his left hand catches his hind leg and swings him round very fast. And the central fugal force of his swinging takes the life of that demon. And then he throws him into the top of one of those tal trees. And when he lands in the tree starts to fall over. And then it hits another tree and another tree and another tree. And then all the trees in the whole forest start coming down. But then all the cohorts, all the supporters of Dhenukasura, other ass demons, they all come roaring out of the forest. And then Krishna, they start having a great time, swinging all these donkey demons around. And the cowherd boys are just clapping and clapping. It's a great festival now. Krishna and Balaram are laughing. It's a great wonder for them. Because, of course, Krishna is not doing any of this. It's Vishnu within Krishna that will kill any of the demons. It's never Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundara. He was just like holding the back leg of this ass demon, and he just happened to go round in the air like this, but they were tossing them into the trees. And then it's described that all the fruits were lying on the ground, but now they were covered in blood from the ass demons. So the cowherd boys wouldn't touch them. But all the Palindi tribes women, they all came in and they gathered them up like that. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes this pastime. And he says that Baladev Prabhu, in the form of Guru, will indicate what the shishya, what the sadhak has to do to purify this anartha of overly attachment to material objects and cunningness in acquiring material objects. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that Guru will help the sadhak to see that, but the sadhak himself has to purify it. The sadhak, with his prayer to Krishna, etc., has to purify it by his own strength. Just like a child walking. The parents want the child to walk so much, but the parents can't walk for the child. The child has to walk himself. So Baladev Prabhu will clear the ground for the sadhak to perceive his anarthas and be able to overcome them. This is Guru. This is what Guru. So this Dhenukasura, he represents actually all these anarthas. There's a beautiful verse, Mugdasya, what's it? Mugdasya, just a second. Mugdasya, Maya Mugdasya, Jivasya, Neya Nata Chaturvida, Hritu Balyam Aparado, Satrishna Tattva Vibrama. And this is described by the Acharyas, Dhenukasura is described by the Acharyas as representing these four types of anarthas. This Swarup Brahm. Swarup Brahm is divided into four. Swarup Brahm, the first Brahm, Brahm means bewilderment. The first bewilderment is that we don't know who we are. So this Jiva's relationship with Krishna. So this is the first bewilderment. Then the second is called Paratattva Brahm. We don't know who is supreme. Is it Brahma? Is it Shiva? Is it Ganesh? Who is the Supreme Lord? So this is the second type of anartha. And then the third type of anartha is Sadhya Sadhan Brahm. What type of sadhan should I perform? Should I perform the sadhan of Vaidhi Bhakti or Raganuga Bhakti? Or what is the best sadhan to... So this is a bewilderment. This is an anartha. The acharyas are so generous-hearted to give us these anarthas so that we can go forward very easily and see the pit holes in the road in front of us and avoid them or realize them in ourselves and bring... If someone is very kind to you and actually points out some defect that is troubling you, then you can purify that defect and go forward. And then the final one is Bhajan Virodi Brahm, that these are like the Mayavads who have not understood. So these are the four categories that come in this Swarupa Brahm. This is the first type. Then the second type is Asat Trishna. Asat Krishna means this hunger, this thirst for objects that are separate from Krishna. And this indicates four, again, this having excessive material desires, wanting to go to Swagaloka, wanting liberation and wanting mystic perfections. These are four other very rampant anarthas that can harass the sadhak. So these anarthas can also be clear. This is what we hear in connection with Dhenukasura, because Dhenukasura represents all these anarthas. This is a load-bearing ass. So our loads are these anarthas. My Gurudev was once asked this question. I can remember in the early morning sun was just rising in Australia at the time. And a devotee asked him, should we meditate on our anarthas while we're chanting? And my Gurudev became very animated. He said, never. If you meditate on your anarthas, more will come. Just like if you meditate on a ghost, more will come. The purpose of chanting is to remember Krishna's sweet pastimes, not to be thinking of our own delusioned, distracting mentalities that are disturbing us. That's not the purpose of our chanting. The purpose of our chanting is to try and fill ourselves to the brim with... This is the whole point of Kartik. This is why we have so many pastimes. In the whole month of Kartik, if you wrote down all the different pastimes that you hear in the month of Kartik, it should come to a whole book. There should be a whole lengthy book of all the different pastimes. We should be filled up to the eyes with all the different parts, as well as having darshans of all the different places. So this is the objective, not to dwell on the anarthas. At the same time, we should be aware of these anarthas within ourselves. Never consider in anybody else. That's not our business. Our business is only to appreciate what is within us. So this asat trishna, and then the third type is called aparad. So there's aparad to nam first. Then there's aparad in our seva. Then there's aparad to the holy dham. Then there's aparad to other living entities, these four. So seva, nam, dham, and other living entities. These four aparads we can commit. So when it's pointed out like this, then it's like a psychiatrist practically, then you can clear it, like a therapist. You know, once you realize that deficiency, then you can purify it, right? This is the objective. So Dhenukasura represents this. And then the the fourth type is Hridaya Dubalyam, this weakness of heart. And this is very deep. And this is when we have attachment for worthless objects that are not connected with Krishna. This is the first aspect of Hridaya Dubalyam. And then there's hypocrisy, kutinati, and duplicity. If we perceive that we are mentally trying to change things to our own material advantage, then we should see the deficiency in that. We should see it has no benefit for my spirit soul whatsoever. If we, what's that? Ishavasyam idam sarvam? Yes. Yes, we accept everything that is offered to us, and we don't have envy for something that is not ours. So we have this mentality. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Yes, this beautiful verse. And then envy of others' property is the third point in Hridaya Dubalyam. And the fourth, the worst one, is pratishta. This pratishta, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has described in all the forest of anarthas. This is the biggest tree. It doesn't matter whether you're in any ashram. It's not that only a sannyasi has pratishta. You know, all living entities can fall into the trap of feeling materially proud of whatever reputation or acquisition they feel that they have attained in life, and using that power to try to control others, etc. This pratishta is very unpleasant. It's unpleasant for the jiva experiencing, it's unpleasant for other people. And it's completely contradictory to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. My Gurudev used to say that the sannyasi is given a danda in order to beat the pratishta out of himself. That's why he has the danda. But I'm saying it's not only, don't think it's just because the sannyasis are usually on the stage. So that can happen very easily. But it's in we're all on the stage of our karmic activities that we're all performing. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he says the jiva is frantically performing the results of his karma on the stage of life. He's frantically dancing on the stage of life, performing his karmic activities. This is how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes it. So this is the fourth one in Hridaya Dubalyam. So these four aparads, this Swarup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Aparad, and Hridaya Dubalyam. These are the four principles. And just by hearing of this pastime of Dhenukasura and appreciating what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, that Guru will illuminate the deficiencies for the Shishya. He will help him to see his deficiencies in different ways. But it's up to the Shishya himself. He has to actually. My Gurudev also used to say many times, I will show you the road, but you have to walk on it. Don't be like babies. I've said this many times. Don't be irresponsible about our own spiritual journey. take command for our spiritual journey. Krishna will give us the energy, and at any moment, Yogamaya Devi will support us. But we have to make those decisions to go in the right direction. And we have to beg mercy from Guru to make the right decision to go forward. So all of these thoughts manifest when we come to this forest of Talvan, simultaneously to hearing the pastime of Dhenukasuras being so beautifully so mercifully killed by Baladev Prabhu. And as I said, Krishna couldn't kill him because he'd promised that he would kill no one in Prahlad's dynasty. So it had to be done by Balaram. So this concludes this pastime of Dhenukasura. But this forest of Talvan is very, very beautiful. And from Talvan, there's a very beautiful lake at Talvan, and there's a beautiful forested area and trees. They've made the temple there very, very beautiful now. Before it was quite dilapidated, but now because so many pilgrims have come over the years, they've given so much pranami to the temples, and now they've actually made the temples very, very beautiful. Previously, there was no running water or anything like that, but now the lake is being cleaned out, and it's very beautiful darshan there. But if you just walk back like 100 yards back from this Talvan, you can look across the fields and you can see Kumudavana. And this is the closest we can get to Kumudavana because there's just water all the way to Kumudavana. You can just see the beautiful flowers from the roadside in Talvan, and you can see across there and see Kumudavana. So Kumudavana has many cow grazing pastimes also, and many pastimes of Krishna and the gopis are there in Kumudavana. In all the beautiful forested areas, when we read the wonderful descriptions of the 8 praharas of the day and the meetings of the gopis with Krishna and the different forests that they roam around in, because each forest has its own mystical, magical speciality. Vrinda Devi, she's manifested all these 12 forests to provide such variation and variety in the bird life, in the foliage, etc., in the different sorts of fruits that are provided, even the different seasons within each forest, because every day Vrinda Devi and Purnamasi, they sit together in Vrindakund and they plan, where will Krishna go today? And while they're making their plans, they know which demons are coming, etc. And then the 6 seasonal goddesses, they manifest. And Purnamasi and Vrinda Devi, they indicate where each season should actually reside for that day, like the summer season should reside in Radhakund, etc. And the winter season, perhaps Adibadri or Kamyavan, somewhere like this. And the spring season, perhaps in Bahulavan, all in different forests like this. So all the forests have their exceptional uniqueness. This is why it's so joyful to learn the geography of all these forests and where they are and all the different pastimes that surround the forests that we'll hear. Like today, we've heard something of Madhuvana. I've only described some, I can only talk for so long, but there are many descriptions in the books also, and we can hear the different personalities describing these forests. But over the years, we can accumulate a strong impression of all the different pastimes of the different forests. So when we come to these forests, we'll be like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we said yesterday, he visits with the Sanodiya Brahmana, he visits all the 12 forests, and he's remembering deeply all the different pastimes that were performed there, of course, and how beautiful that must have been, for that Brahman who was traveling with Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, who was remembering all those pastimes as he was wandering through. But actually, of course, Mahaprabhu was being influenced by that Krishna mood rather than the mood of Radhika. He wanted to experience Radhika's bhav. That's why he manifested. It wasn't to experience his own previous Shyam Ras. That was not what he wanted to experience. So he only stays for 10 or 12 days here. He stays in a Kruragat, and then he comes back to Prayag and Varanasi, and then back to Puri. So all these pastimes are there for our remembrance of this Dhenukasura and Madhu and the different Madhu demons. And Dhruva Maharaj also ultimately killed his own demon for his hunger for something greater than the darshan of Krishna. Because when he sees Krishna, he doesn't really want anything else, but Krishna gives him that benediction anyway. But he's lost that material desire by the darshan of Krishna. So these forests have the potency and ability to purify all conditioned souls of their hindrances, their obstacles into reaching Krishna. And Narad Muni, he says, if you come to these forests during the month of Kartik, and if you hear, or he says, if you hear these pastimes during the month of Kartik with deep meditation, then all of the fruits that these individual forests can bestow upon us can be received by the sadhak if he very carefully hears these pastimes and drinks the beauty. If you read today, for example, this chapter 15 of the 10th canto, it describes so beautifully this mood of Krishna and Balaram together, holding hands, walking through the forest with all the sakhas, etc. It's a special mood because I described Balaram hasn't been out for 5 days. So there's some speciality here. Krishna is really pacifying Lord Balaram this way. And he even gives him a demon to actually kill at the same time. So never in our lives we should forget this Talavana or this Madhuvana, and remember all these pastimes, take them deeply and hold the remembrances of all their significant meanings. So Baladev Prabhu ki jai, Sri Krishna Brajendranandan Sham Sundar ki jai, Madhuvan ki jai, Talavan ki jai, Kumudavana ki jai, Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarupyascha, Kripa Sindhabhavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So now we're going to share with you on screen our chanting of the Damodar Astakam and our offering of the lamps. And tomorrow, we have an exceptional day tomorrow. We go to Imlital, and we will hear much about Mahaprabhu. And then we also go to Sevakunj, and we also go to Radha Damodar. Generally, we circle right around and we come to Sringaravat, which is making a complete circumambulation of Gopinath Bhavan. But tomorrow, the program is set to go to Shamsunda Mandir. So we'll go there instead of Sringaravat tomorrow. So those 4 places we'll cover tomorrow. So Vraja-mandala ki jai.
Namam Vishwaram
Ram
Satchit
Ananda
Rupam Rasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajamanam Yashoda Viyolokala Param Vishram Adyam Jatodutya Gokya Udam Tamuhurnetra Yudmam Vrijantam Taram Bhoja Yugmena Satankanetram Muhoshvasa Kampa Kriye Ankakanta Sita Gavadamo Dharamantira Iti Vishwalila Virananda Kunde Swadoshami Ajantam Adyapayantam Adiyeshita Deshu Vakayatitatvam Purnamritasasavariti Vande Param Deva Moksham Mokshavadimva Nacham Yamunenyam Bhateyadapidya Nidantera Purmata Gopala Palam Sada Vimanasya Vilasantinaya Nidantero Kamlojam Avyakta Nilay Nidantero Leilaka Utkrishchani Maharadharane Manasya Vistamanavyakshalavye Namo Damodarananta Vishnu Rasida Prabodhuka Jalabdimagna Upadrishti Dinam Vatano Dinam Jai Vayadva Jaya Mudayomati Bhajo Pritocha Bhakta Prema Bhakti Swatame Prayacha Namo Shivane Sudhamavadhyasha Dhamne Swadhyayata Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Tadiya Priyaya Namo Radhalilaya Devaya Shubhyam Namo Radhikaya Tadiya Priyaya Namo Radhalilaya Devaya Shubhyam Kumudavana Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara O Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Damodara Radha Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Nitai Guru Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Nitai Guru Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jaya Guru Deva,
Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So, thank you all very much for tuning in. There was an omission. I didn't say the mystical mantra to chant at the forest of Madhuvana. The forest of Madhuvana, the mantra to appreciate Madhuvana in its fullest, and we should all say after me, Om, Kram, Krim, Madhuvanadi, Pataya, Madhuvaya, Namaha, Swaha. Okay, that's the mantra that is indicated by the rishis and sadhus to chant at Madhuvan. That will bring all auspiciousness. So I forgot to say that. So Dandavat pranams. Thank you all. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha.